Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sung A Pao Recap. I'm so grateful you're here with us today. Before we begin, I want to wish you good health, peace, and safety. May you and your loved ones always be protected. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever thought about how a single ordinary day could change everything? How happiness, when it feels most complete, can be shattered in an instant? What would you do if disaster struck without warning? Today, I'm going to tell you about A Pao, a simple man from the mountainous region of northwest Vietnam. He lives with his wife Thu and their 5-year-old daughter. Their life is peaceful, built on hard work in the fields and deep love for each other. But one day, A Pao went down to the town just to buy some supplies, and everything changed. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss what happens next. Drop a comment below and share this video if it means something to you. Now, let's begin. The morning started like any other morning in the northwest mountains. Mist clung to the hilltops, and the air was cool and fresh. In A Pao's small wooden house, smoke rose gently from the kitchen chimney. Inside, Thu was preparing breakfast, the familiar sounds of chopping and stirring filling the quiet morning. Their daughter played in the yard, her laughter ringing out like little bells. A Pao woke up, stretched, and looked out the window at the mountains he'd known his whole life. Today he needed to go down to the town to buy supplies. Rice, cooking oil, household items. Nothing special, just the usual trip he made every few weeks. Oi, what do we need? Thu asked, wiping her hands on her apron. A Pao sat down at the small table and thought for a moment. Rice, cooking oil, maybe some dried fish. Oh, and nails. I need to fix the fence. Thu nodded, stirring the pot of porridge. Be careful on the road, okay? Those curves are dangerous. I know. A Pao smiled. I've driven that road 100 times. Their daughter ran inside, her face bright with excitement. Daddy! Can you buy me candy? A Pao laughed and scooped her up in his arms. Of course, little one. Your favorite, right? The coconut ones? Yes. She clapped her hands. Thu watched them with warm eyes. Don't spoil her too much. Just a little won't hurt, A Pao said, setting his daughter down. He stood up and grabbed his jacket. It was time to go. Thu walked with him to the motorbike. She adjusted his collar gently, the way she always did. Come back soon, okay? We'll be waiting. A Pao leaned in and kissed her forehead. I'll be back before you know it. He started the engine, waved goodbye, and rode off down the narrow dirt road. Thu stood there with their daughter, watching until he disappeared around the bend. She didn't know that this goodbye would be different from all the others. The road to town wound through the mountains like a snake, twisting and turning through forests and valleys. A Pao had traveled this route countless times. He knew every curve, every bump, every dangerous spot. The morning sun filtered through the trees, creating patterns of light and shadow on the road ahead. He breathed in the mountain air and felt grateful. Life was simple, but it was good. He had a wife who loved him, a healthy daughter, a roof over their heads, and food on the table. What more could a man ask for? He thought about Thu as he rode, how she'd stood by him through difficult harvests, through sick seasons, through everything. She never complained, never asked for more than they had. And his daughter, growing up so fast, already showing Thu's kindness and strength. Yes, life was good. Little did he know in just a few hours, everything would fall apart. A Pao reached the town around mid-morning. The market was busy, filled with vendors calling out their prices and people bargaining. He went from stall to stall, buying everything Thu had asked for. Rice, check. Cooking oil, check. Dried fish, check. He even found those coconut candies his daughter loved so much. He put everything in the baskets attached to his motorbike, making sure it was all secure. The sun was high now, and the day was getting warm. Time to head home. Thu would be starting lunch soon, and he wanted to be there. He always preferred eating at home, with his family, rather than alone at some roadside shop. A Pao started his motorbike and began the journey back. The road seemed even more beautiful in the afternoon light. He passed other travelers, waved to familiar faces, and felt that peaceful contentment that comes from a simple task completed. He was about halfway home when he reached that section of the road he always had to be careful with. There was a sharp curve coming up, the kind where you couldn't see what was around the bend. A Pao slowed down, just like he always did. He'd been driving this road for years. He knew what he was doing. But sometimes, knowing isn't enough. Sometimes it doesn't matter how careful you are. As a Pao entered the curve, a motorbike suddenly appeared coming from the opposite direction. The rider was going too fast, cutting across into a Pao's lane. Everything happened in a split second. A Pao's mind screamed danger. He yanked his handlebars to the right, trying to avoid the collision. He slammed on his brakes. The tires screeched against the dirt road. But it was too late. The two motorbikes collided with a sickening crash. Metal crunched against metal. A Pao felt himself flying through the air, his bike spinning away beneath him. For a moment, everything seemed to move in slow motion. He saw the sky, the trees, the road rushing up to meet him. Then he hit the ground. Pain exploded through his body, his leg, his arm, his head. Everything hurt. He tried to move, tried to get up, but his body wouldn't respond. He could hear shouting, people running toward him, but their voices seemed far away, like he was underwater. The bags of rice had burst open, spilling white grains across the road. The cooking oil bottle had shattered, creating a dark puddle. And somewhere in the chaos, those coconut candies his daughter loved had scattered everywhere. A Pao tried to call out for Thu, but no sound came. The pain was overwhelming. The world started to blur, the bright afternoon sun dimming to gray. He thought of his wife, of his daughter waiting at home. He'd promised to come back soon, and then everything went black. People gathered around him. Someone was calling for an ambulance. Someone else was trying to talk to him, asking if he could hear them. But A Pao was already gone, falling into unconsciousness, his body broken and bleeding on that mountain road he knew so well. Back at home, Thu was preparing dinner. The afternoon sun slanted through the kitchen window as she chopped vegetables for the evening meal. Her daughter sat nearby, drawing pictures with colored pencils. "Mommy, when is Daddy coming home?" the little girl asked, not looking up from her drawing. Thu glanced at the clock on the wall. It was later than she expected. A Pao should have been back by now. He always came home before dark. A small worry began to form in her chest, but she pushed it away. Maybe he'd run into a friend and stop to chat. Maybe the market had been busier than usual. "Soon, sweetie. Daddy will be home soon." But as the minutes ticked by, that small worry grew bigger. Thu kept looking out the window, expecting to see A Pao's motorbike coming up the road. But the road remained empty. She tried to focus on cooking, but her hands had started to shake slightly. Then the phone rang. Thu wiped her hands quickly and picked it up. The number was unfamiliar. "Hello? Is this Mrs. Thu, wife of A Pao?" The voice on the other end was serious, official. Thu's heart dropped into her stomach. Yes, this is she. "What's wrong? What happened?" "Ma'am, your husband has been in an accident. He's been brought to the provincial hospital. You need to come right away." The phone nearly slipped from Thu's hand. "What? An accident? Is he... He's alive, ma'am, but he's in critical condition. Please come as soon as you can." The world tilted. Thu grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. Her daughter looked up, seeing the fear on her mother's face. "Mommy? What's wrong? Is it Daddy?" Thu couldn't speak. She couldn't breathe. The man she loved, the father of her child, was in the hospital. Critical condition. What did that mean? How bad was it? Was he going to die? "Mommy!" Her daughter's voice was rising in panic now. Thu forced herself to move. She had to get to the hospital. She had to see him. She quickly picked up her daughter and ran outside to their neighbor's house, pounding on the door. "Please, please, I need help. My husband. There's been an accident. I need to get to the hospital." The neighbor, seeing Thu's desperate face, immediately understood. "Come on. I'll take you right now." The ride to the hospital was the longest journey of Thu's life. Every minute felt like an hour. She held her daughter tight, whispering prayers under her breath. "Please, God, please let him be okay. Please don't take him from us." Her daughter was crying now, sensing the terror in her mother's heart. "Is Daddy going to be okay, Mommy?" "Yes, baby. Yes, he'll be fine. He has to be fine." But Thu's voice broke as she said it, and tears started streaming down her face. The motorbike weaved through traffic, the horn blaring. Other vehicles seemed to be moving so slowly. Why was everything so slow? They needed to get there now. Thu's mind raced with terrible images. Was he bleeding? Was he in pain? Was he scared? Was he calling for her? Finally, they arrived at the hospital. Thu jumped off before the motorbike had even fully stopped. She ran through the entrance. Her daughter in her arms, straight to the emergency room. The red light above the door was on. "Emergency in progress." Thu collapsed into a plastic chair outside that closed door, clutching her daughter, and began to pray with everything she had. Behind that door was the man she loved, and she had no idea if he would survive. Life is so fragile, isn't it? One moment, everything is normal. You're making breakfast, planning dinner, thinking about tomorrow. And then, in a single heartbeat, everything can change. One curve in the road, one moment of bad timing, and a family's whole world is turned upside down. Right now, behind that emergency room door, A Pao's life hangs in the balance. Outside, Thu and their daughter wait in agony, not knowing if he'll survive, not knowing if their family will remain whole. The love they share, the life they've built together, all of it trembles on the edge of loss. What will the doctor say when that door opens? How severe are A Pao's injuries? Will Thu have to face the worst news a wife can hear? Or will there be hope? This is just the beginning of their story, a story about love, about strength, about family, facing the hardest test of their lives. Don't miss the next episode to find out what happens. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story has touched you, please share it with others. Until next time, may you and your loved ones always be safe and together. Take care.